Hey everyone, DylanBandicoot here again with another Bandicoot Month video. When I think about Crash Bandicoot, one of the first things that always comes to my mind are the amazing boss battles. So, let's talk about my top 10.
I'm kind of surprised myself that this one made the list, because on number 10 I have Tiny Tiger from Crash Bandicoot 2. The reason I was so surprised that I wanted to include this fight is because I always thought this fight was a little bit too simplistic for a Tiny fight when I was a kid. You don't really get to hit Tiny directly in this fight. Instead, you have to lure him near a falling red blinking platform so Tiny can fall to his doom 3 times in a row while Tiny is too busy following Crash in order to squish him. However, as I've gotten older, I start to realize how much fun it is to lure Tiny into a pit. Using the slide jump diagonally to lure him exactly where you want him to fall is especially satisfying and hilarious too. Hey, over here! Follow me, Tiny! If I can make this jump, then so can you! Look at this face! Buh, I'm tiny! Idiot. Next up is N.Gin from Crash Bandicoot 4. It seems that in this game N.Gin is taking a liking to heavy metal music. Controlling a giant mech that plays giant drums, N.Gin sends projectiles that are probably supposed to resemble sound waves towards you. Most of them can be jumped over and some of them have to be ducked under. While avoiding these, occasionally a minion will attempt to harm you, and with a simple spin or slide attack you can send these guys plummeting into N.Gin himself. Do this 3 times and you'll get an opportunity to hurt N.Gin for real by platforming to him using Lonely Loli. Or don't use him like I do, works perfectly fine. Repeat this process 4 times with a rising difficulty each time and he's down. Oh, this next boss is great. The final boss against N.Cortex in Crash Bandicoot 4. This is such a cool and climactic way to end off Crash's first new game in 12 years. I mean, first of all, the music. It's a mix of Crash Bandicoot's theme song and Cortex's theme song, like the 2 songs are fighting each other as well. That's brilliant! The battle starts with Cortex taking away all 4 quantum masks that you collected throughout the game, which also means that he's going to use all the brand new abilities you've learned throughout this game against you while we lose them. Cortex first uses Lonely Loli to make platforms disappear very quickly, so you have to time your jumps carefully to avoid falling into a pit. After that, you can damage these lasers coming out of the floor by jumping on them, and then Cortex sends a lab assistant towards you, which you then have to attack and launch into Cortex's machine. After that, he uses Ika to turn the whole screen upside down. You have to carefully remember which lasers you need to jump over and which ones you have to duck under. Then repeat the laser and lab assistant process again. Then Cortex uses Kapunawa to slow down time while you try to stay alive by avoiding the falling platforms. Then repeat the process of the lasers and lab assistant again as you're avoiding death, and then the final phase starts. Cortex uses Akano to rapidly spin lasers around, which you have to avoid while carefully hitting all the floor lasers again one last time. And then you send the 4 last lab assistants his way to end the fight. Oopsie poopums, Cortex! Looks like you missed 6 crates. Is he a dingo? Is he a crocodile? It's Dingodile from Crash Bandicoot Warped! This is such a cool fight, with very cool music and a very cool climate in the Ice Ages no less. Dingodile uses his flamethrower to send blobs of fire your way, which you of course have to avoid. After avoiding these, you have to trick him into using his flamethrower to break the crystals surrounding him, while he's trying to burn you to a crisp so you can jump on his head for damage. Ah, just look at those crystals. Those beautiful, beautiful crystals. Wait, aren't we collecting crystals? Anyway, the fight gets more epic and difficult each phase as Dingodile changes up his pattern by shooting in a different direction or even shooting 2 blobs of fire at a time in very quick succession. But you know, you can also avoid all of this and cheese the fight by just jumping over the crystals and jumping on his head that way. Make sure to escape from the crystals in time though so you don't blow up. Yay, we did it! Come on, Panta Penguin, let's use him as a trampoline! In Crash Twinsanity, after Cortex reveals to Crash that he was cross-dressing as Coco... Well, that's a sentence I didn't expect to say today. Cortex tells Crash that he lured him to a reunion of all his enemies so he can take his revenge and defeat Crash once and for all right in front of them. Kind of like a birthday party. Looks like poor Crunch got tricked. Polar, no! You're my best friend! This fight is really fun and pretty funny. Cortex throws bombs at Crash and makes witty comments like, "This one's from Tiny. This one's from Dingodile. Ripperoo, you shouldn't have. Oh dear, two of the same." After avoiding the bombs and lasers, Cortex once again makes a comment about, "Here's one you can return." Okay. After hitting him 3 times, the second phase starts, Mecha-Bandicoot, controlled by N.Gin by the way. Run to the left or right to avoid his missiles and... chainsaw? Okay, I guess. Then return his snot lasers. Gesundheit. We're halfway through this list and this time we have a boss fight that isn't about platforming. N.Gin from Crash Bandicoot Warped. In this fight you play as Coco because Crash tripped and had to go to the emergency room, I guess. This fight is a freaking space shooter. This is so cool. N.Gin's mech suit has multiple body parts with attacks coming out of them such as missiles and orbs, I think. And other orbs coming out of his belly button. Ew, disgusting. The strategy for this fight is that most body parts aren't vulnerable unless they're attacking you, which means you have to attack while avoiding the attacks that are currently coming at you from the place you're hitting. Still with me? This makes this boss more fun than it has any right to be. And just when you think you've defeated N.Gin, uh-oh, second phase! Burra to the rescue! Oh! Oh? Oh!
Do a barrel roll!
On number 4 I have the final boss against Cortex from the first Crash Bandicoot. This fight is so epic. After a journey across the Wumpa Islands, it is finally time for Crash to get his revenge on Cortex, while his entire castle, if not the entire island, burns in the background. Burn! Burn! On top of his silly hoverboard, Cortex shoots lasers at you. The purple ones disappear forever, the blue ones bounce around the screen so you have to carefully avoid these while simultaneously avoiding the purple ones. And then the green ones can be reflected back by a simple spin attack. In your face, Cortex! Wait for it. Wait for it. BAM! Yeehaw indeed, Crash. Yeehaw indeed. Ah, N.Brio from Crash 1. I have many fond memories of beating this guy over and over again when I was just a toddler. Brio throws some deadly pink potions towards you, which you then have to avoid. After he throws a green one or multiple green ones which contain these weird blob creatures, you have to defeat these blobs by jumping on top of them. And in the Insane Trilogy, they added a cool detail where N.Brio gets hit in the face by their slimy mucus. Which means you're actually damaging him now. But just as you think this fight is almost over, N.Brio completely loses it and drinks both of his potions, which then mutates him into some kind of incredible Brio. This was really cool and mind-blowing when I first played this as a kid. Especially after many attempts where I got killed by the blobs over and over again. You now have to use the bricks that fall from the ceiling to jump on his head 3 times in order to end the fight, which is very satisfying. Bye, fetus! This is N.Tropy. He's the master of time and he likes himself a little bit too much for his own good.
Ah. Barf.
But today we are talking about his boss fight from Crash Bandicoot Warped. N.Tropy is another one of those bosses that tries to overwhelm you with projectiles, although this one is probably the easiest of the bunch. So then why is it so high on this list? Well, I just always thought this was a very fun boss fight ever since I was a kid. Plain and simple reason. N.Tropy starts the fight by shooting some kind of futuristic orb at you, with each phase of the fight containing one more. The second one's the only one you don't have to jump over, but you have to duck instead. After the orbs, you have to avoid these lasers that could come from any direction. I really like the sound effects they make. And then N.Tropy gets tired and has to take a breather. And it seems he jumbled up the platforms, and if you're careful, you can platform your way to N.Tropy using these in order to hit him. N.Tropy then moves to the other side, and then you rinse and repeat in a slightly harder way 2 more times, while the environment changes in that of a different time period, which is a really cool detail. I think this fight is just chill, and that's the best way I can describe it honestly. And last but not least, I have the final battle against Cortex and Uka Uka from Crash Bandicoot Warped. And what an epic way to end a trilogy, holy crap. You're inside the Time Twister machine battling for the fate of the world. You either win or Uka Uka and Cortex will take over the entire world. While Crash is fighting Cortex, Aku Aku is fighting Uka Uka in an epic showdown. I'm surprised the ancients allowed it this time. You have to be careful though, getting hit by Aku Aku and Uka Uka's battle will kill you. And you don't have an Aku Aku mask to protect you this time, as he's too busy fighting his own fight. In order to damage Cortex, you have to avoid his lasers 3 times per phase. After that, he'll randomly throw mines at you. His shield will then deactivate, which is the moment you can strike him. And then you hit him again, and again, and again, until you finally get him to fall into the spit in the middle. Urk! Urk! Get in the pit! Then Uka Uka just casually fishes him out. Congratulations! You caught a small fry! Then you damage Cortex the exact same way again for 2 more phases, while Tweedledee and Tweedledum over here change up their attack patterns in awesome but destructive ways until you win. What a way to end off the trilogy. God, this fight is so good.
Gee, I wish I was a Crash Bandicoot boss. Wait, what? No! No, I take that back! I take that back! Ah! Like, comment, subscribe, and click the bell!